This is 7 News, the voice of the New England. This is 7 News, the voice of the New England.
Tonight, more pressure on housing as regional rents continue to rise. Tackling a hidden epidemic, encouraging kids to speak up.
I'm Daniel Gibson. Later on this news hour, a woman in hospital after being attacked by a tiger on the Gold Coast. And the state on high alert as wild weather turns deadly.
7 News begins now.
Good evening. The regional housing shortage is now reaching a tipping point as industries call for more assistance. The latest numbers show rents are unaffordable for a lot of people, and homeless advocates want the government to step up.
A basic necessity is getting tougher to afford. Rents in New South Wales rose just over 5% in the last year. And if we want to tackle homelessness, that number has to come back down.
It means that children and young people won't be couch surfing, and that means the health costs and social costs associated with homelessness are far reduced.
According to Homelessness New South Wales, the New England Northwest has a median rental price of $390. That's $70 more than 3 years ago, caused by a lack of available homes, rising interest rates and construction costs. But advocates say the biggest problem in this region is less than 4% of our homes are social housing. That number should be around 10%.
It's very, very frustrating, and we certainly should have been doing this well over a decade ago.
The last federal budget allocated $6.2 billion to social housing, but Homelessness New South Wales says it isn't enough to hit the 5,000 homes a year target that's needed.
For years, governments have neglected the housing market, and this has left us in the situation we're in.
But the supply in general is much needed. Real estate agents say it would help grow our smaller towns.
If we're going to attract people here, we have to have suitable housing to offer to those people.
The current cash rate is 4.35%, and the Reserve Bank meets on the 24th of September. Real estate agent Mark Sleeman wants a cut. A flurry of investors would help our supply shortages, at least in the short term.
If we want more houses on the ground, we need to make it more affordable for people to build and buy.
Rex Quayle, 7 News.
Parents are being encouraged to have some tough conversations with their kids. It's all part of National Child Protection Week, where more than 60% of Australians have experienced maltreatment as cases of child abuse and neglect continue to climb.
Australia's had a week dedicated to child protection for more than 30 years.
In our society, children really are not valued in the way that they should be.
1 week each year to raise awareness and start conversations. The latest Australian child maltreatment study found more than 62% of the populations experienced at least one type of child maltreatment, including domestic violence, physical, emotional and sexual abuse.
Physical abuse may have declined slightly, emotional abuse has increased and sexual abuse has increased.
This year's theme is Every Conversation Matters, encouraging parents, family members and teachers to have those difficult discussions with children about personal safety, their worries and concerns, and how they can protect themselves.
Emotional abuse is actually really coming out as something that really affects kids and creates a lot of trauma, and so is becoming one of the big areas that we're looking at.
Between 2022 and 2023, the Child Protection Helpline received more than 2,000 risks of significant harm reports from the Tamworth area. Tamworth Family Support Service provides programs and initiatives which can help adults manage their own stresses and frustrations. Today at Westdown Public School, kids took part in a conversation starter activity shared in local schools and early learning centres. Rachel Holdsworth, 7 News.
A Tamworth business has been left with a big clean-up after a close call this afternoon. A vehicle ploughed into the front window of the Peel Street shopfront at around midday. It's believed the driver accidentally reversed into the shop. Police, ambulance and fire and rescue were called to close off traffic and assess the damage. Fortunately, the driver was not injured and there were no other serious injuries. A goal for Australia to cut road fatalities by 50% by the year 2030 is facing an uphill battle. In New South Wales, already 223 people have lost their lives this year. That's 8 more than the same time last year.
It's been a disastrous year on New South Wales roads. So far, there's almost been one fatal crash per day.
We've had 226 people across the state lose their lives. That's 5 more than the same time last year. For the New England Oxley area, we are at 23, which is 6 above the same time last year.
This Rural Road Safety Month, people are being urged to drive safely so they don't become another statistic. Family of victims say the impact of a fatal crash is immeasurable.
The ripple effect that one of these incidents has on a family and the wider community is something that you can't actually measure. It impacts not just the immediate family, then you've got the extended family, and then you've got the school friends.
Inspector Wicks is asking motorists to drive to conditions. Don't take risks to make sure they arrive alive.
We just ask, when you're driving on our regional roads, be safe, make good decisions. Please don't speed, don't use alcohol or drugs, and just get to where you want to safely.
Data from the Road Trauma Support Group shows 49% of criminal crashes in the last year occurred on regional roads, but only 38% of victims lived in these locations. Ms. Dokmanovic says fatigue remains a huge problem.
People who generally don't know the conditions, don't know how to drive to the conditions, aren't prepared for potholes, loose gravel, any other type of condition that occurs out in the rural areas.
Hugh Pearson, 7 News.
Millions of asthma sufferers can now benefit from 60-day prescriptions. The program essentially halves the prices of some medications and is expected to save patients hundreds of dollars each year.
A big break for 10% of the population.
We know that asthma is highly prevalent in society. We've got 2.8 million Australians living with asthma.
Asthma Australia found more than half of people with the disease don't have it under control, skipping treatments due to the expense.
We've got a whole lot of people at various stages, all of whom are suffering from cost of living crisis.
60-day dispensing gives patients the option to take double the amount of medicine for the price of one script.
That it subsidises medicines for all people, which means that you get medicines according to your need, not according to your ability to pay.
It's very important for people living with asthma to keep sufficient supply of their preventer and not to let it run low, because that's when asthma attacks can creep up.
The most common preventers are now on the list, hoping to emphasise control, not just temporary relief. The most a pensioner will have to pay for any medicine on the PBS is now just $7.70 or $31.60 for anyone without a concession card.
The preventers that are on the list are all of the common ones, the ones that are used most regularly, and this is going to be a big advantage for people with asthma.
Danny Sharp, 7 News.
Well, farmers are warning selfie hunters looking for a happy snap in fields of golden canola. They say there's a real lack of awareness and they want tourists to be more mindful of private property.
Flocking to the fields to get the social media shot, many people are already making use of the canola trail in its full bloom, but farmers around the region say tourists need to respect the fence line.
Probably the main concern for us is damage to the crop, because the last group that had wandered on were breaking plants off.
Ross Walters and his wife are local farmers. They've already had 4 families cross their fence without permission. They say it compromises their crop and their biosecurity.
We don't know where those people have been prior to here. If they're bringing disease, pests onto our property, we don't need that.
Mr. Walters says there needs to be a bit more education so that visitors and landowners can both enjoy the canola season.
You know, you can get great photos from outside the fence, or at least ask the farmer, have presence of mind to go, well, hang on, it's not my paddock. Maybe I should ask somebody if I can wander in there.
The Walters have now put signs on their fence which helps identify the do's and don'ts.
We've already seen a number of people break the law. In fact, it's trespassing by going onto a farm and trying to get that unique photograph, but there are very real dangers. There are snakes and the like out and about in the crops. There are biosecurity hazards.
Respecting private property applies to all of the canola trail, which weaves throughout regional communities. Failure to stay on the right side of the fence may result in fines of up to $12,000.
We put a lot of work into getting this crop this far, and it costs a lot of money to grow a crop, and I think that needs to be emphasised as well.
Marla Summer, 7 News.
Well, Kirstie joins us now for a look at today's weather conditions. And Kirstie, some big wind gusts out there today.
Yes, absolutely, Nick. Hello to you and good evening, everyone. Starting on our satellite picture, we can see this line of very strong and high winds sweeping through parts of the state. It was windiest in the east, but wind gusts did hit more than 50 kilometres an hour throughout Tamworth and almost 60 kilometres an hour through Glen Innes and Armidale. Those winds were so strong, the wind chill sent temperatures plummeting by around 5 degrees. At 2 p.m, Inverell was just a top of 18, felt like 18 despite reaching 23. Sunny skies right across the day though, so a windy but quite a mild start to spring. 27 for Moree and 25 to Tamworth, though it did feel cooler. The good news is those winds will ease significantly as we head into tomorrow. I'll have that forecast a little after sport, Nick.
That is some good news. Okay, thanks, Kirstie. Up next in 7 News, campaigners push for a local drug treatment centre. And hot property, Tamworth's most expensive home, now looking for new owners.
And a little later on this news hour, an emergency at a Gold Coast theme park as a handler is attacked by a tiger. Kathleen Folbig's public plea for compensation after her murder convictions were quashed. And the Roosters' worst fears confirmed as 3 stars are hit with injuries.
Welcome back. The campaign for a dedicated drug treatment centre in Tamworth is now ramping up. Advocates want a residential rehab and local detox clinic, as well as a culturally informed wellness centre to prevent patients travelling to the coast for treatment. The Fair Treatment campaign is modelled on Dubbo's successful bid to secure funding for its service. They are hoping the New South Wales Drug Summit will visit Tamworth during its regional sessions later this year.
It gives local people the opportunity to tell their story, and I guess when stories are told, then there's a greater chance of some action taking place.
A New South Wales government spokesperson says an announcement about summit locations will be made soon. The Minns government will push for tougher penalties on repeat.
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Now you see me, now you don't. Watch me light up, watch me grow. See me fly, see me go. Clever, clever. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Vaping addiction can creep up on you. And before you know it, it can be hard to resist its pull. Vaping, are you really choosing anymore? Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Reimagine outdoor cooking with the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven. Unlock high heat woodfire flavour you can see and taste. Share the flavours of your world with the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven.
Now's the time to get into the Mazda CX-3 Sport from $29,990 drive away. Or the Mazda CX-5 Max, now from $37,990 drive away. Visit your local dealer and drive away today.
This is a tale of 2 new mates. Okay, so they're a little different, but they're even better together. They've got more flight options, access to lounges, and priority perks. Cue the sunset shot.
Your humble hatchback, Pierre, had a horn with a pop-pop sound. Pierre looked like a roller skate, drove like a dream. When you farewelled your old life, Pierre was there. A car doesn't have to move fast to move you. If it's precious to you, protect it with us. GIO, protect precious.
Being an ex
can be a good thing. The X in ex-service people stands for extraordinary assets. Reliable employees who make exceptional leaders and are extremely skilled. Exemplary workers with dedication and an excellent work ethic.
Exactly what your organisation needs.
Explore more at veteransemployment.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Domestic violence offenders, it's all part of a range of new reforms. It'll mean perpetrators found to have breached their ADVOs 3 or more times will now face up to 5 years in prison. In Orange last week, the Premier declared the state isn't making the desired progress when it comes to cracking down on domestic violence.
It's a good thing that we're looking at ADVOs, but we also need to be looking at the judicial process and how we fund the judiciary so that the offences that these people are charged with, often with an interim ADVO, are heard quickly before the court.
Legislation will be introduced in State Parliament later this month, and if you or anyone you know needs support, you can contact 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. In tonight's property polls, the most expensive house the Tamworth property market has ever seen now up for sale. The newly renovated home has been handcrafted and lived in by one of the city's busiest builders.
This is where expert builder Shay Brennan hangs his hat. The man who's delivered millions of dollars in infrastructure to the region would be hard-pressed to bring his work home. But he has, and he's done it in style.
The dynamic duo of the Brennans.
Designed by Jacqueline Brennan, Highgate House will be the most expensive home ever sold in Tamworth.
The price guide is 3 to 3.2 million.
But it's easy to see why. 135 years of history blended seamlessly with all the modern fittings of luxury living.
It has 4 bedrooms, 3 full bathrooms, an extra 2 toilets, as you saw, the most amazing powder room, and has a double garage with lock-up.
But in the real estate game, it's location, location, location. Placed smack bang in the middle of Tamworth's most affluent area.
The location is core East Tamworth, on a block that's over 2,000 square metres.
And what they've done with all that space needs to be seen to be believed. An all-new pool area, alongside a DA launch for a separate cabana and plenty of room on the block for a tennis court.
This home is unique. This home, there has never been a home that we've ever been able to bring to market in Tamworth of this calibre.
If you want to take a closer look, it's by appointment only. Max Gent, 7 News.
Up next in sport, the Saints deny the Swans a premiership. And Narrabri claims the Central North rugby crown in a late lunge against Moree. A new reign has begun in Central North Rugby Union. The grand final between Moree and Narrabri will go down as one of the greatest games our region has ever seen.
The Kings of Central North have been crowned. But this is a moment that very nearly didn't happen. Although the day started perfectly for Narrabri, it seemed Moree were the ones wrestling early momentum. 2 tries in a flash got them the lead. And a third from captain Duncan Woods got them some breathing room. Trailing 7-21, finally a Blue Boars breakthrough. The defending premiers hit them back. A captain's call that they'd kick turned out to be the right one. But soon the home crowd had something to cheer for. Another from Jake Rumsby put them within 3 points of the shield. Then the kick put them within 1. With the siren gone, they'd pack the scrum for the premiership. The ball would fall to Damon Gleeson, and the rest was history. They were premiers, and they'd done it on home turf.
Unbelievable, yeah. In the corner, grand final. Stuff you dream of.
No bull could bear look at the scoreboard, left wondering what could have been.
It was like a nightmare at the end, it's nearly like a movie, them scoring in the corner as the clock struck zero.
A nightmare for Moree, but a dream come true for Narrabri. This moment, this day, and this season belongs to the Blue Boars. Max Gent, 7 News.
Well, there is a new dynasty forming in the AFL Northwest. Last year's victors have gone back-to-back to take out the competition in style.
It was the Saints' Day in Inverell. Back-to-back premiers, crowned in their own backyard. They stared down their rivals, the Tamworth Swans, but the visitors kicked the first. Todd Jones fired at home. But it wasn't long before Inverell struck back. Just one goal in it after the first, player coach Lockie Bennett's got to work, telling his men to get stuck in.
There's a goal right now.
Wow. But Inverell were up for a fight as they pulled away in the second quarter. A 17-point lead heading into the sheds. The red and white would have flashes of brilliance in the third. But Inverell remained in the driver's seat. The final siren sounded, and they were officially back-to-back premiers.
Footy's full of 1,000 moments. You know, if you can win your one little battle, you've done well for the team, and that's just all it comes down to.
The Swans left to pick up the pieces after losing their fourth straight grand final.
We just couldn't get that momentum that we really wanted to, and Inverell's a good side, so the boys should be proud of themselves, but look, it's going to hurt.
The day complete with a winner's chant. Max Gent, 7 News.
Well, it's been a windy start to our week. Up next, Kirstie has your local weather forecast.
Good evening, everyone. A strong cold front has brought wild weather to parts of New South Wales and Victoria with damaging to destructive winds. This system will begin to move.
Beautiful, isn't it? Not the grandeur of large rocks or the tranquility of a stream, but that thing that happens inside when we're outside. Out there we become morning people. We find peace, connection, meaning. You'll find a lot when you don't know what you're looking for. Come find us. We're out there. Kathmandu.
At Aussie Broadband, we reckon there's more to the Aussie way than just this. Like actually helping a mate when they need it.
Dedicated support from onshore tech experts. That's Aussie Broadband. That's the actual Aussie way.
Vaping addiction can creep up on you, and it can be hard to resist its pull. Vaping, are you really choosing anymore? Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Now give me finer than the finest fragrances, and they're majestic animals.
Take it off.
Blue lavender.
Undress. Success.
New Lynx Fine Fragrance Collection. Out now.
Impress.
Your humble hatchback, Pierre, had a horn with a pop-pop sound. Pierre looked like a roller skate, drove like a dream. When you farewelled your old life, Pierre was there. A car doesn't have to move fast to move you. If it's precious to you, protect it with us. GIO, protect precious.
Being an X can be a good thing. The X in ex-service people stands for extraordinary assets, reliable employees who make exceptional leaders and are extremely skilled, exemplary workers with dedication and an excellent work ethic.
Exactly what your organisation needs.
Explore more at veteransemployment.gov.au. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Offshore, but bring a cool southwesterly wind change in behind it. High pressure will also bring more stable and settled weather before the next frontal system arrives through Thursday, with winds strengthening again, but temperatures also warming up. Now, we're not out of the woods just yet with these wild winds, but rain-wise, most of the state, including the New England northwest, will remain fine and dry. Around our region tomorrow, blue skies and a settled day, but we'll feel those cooler southwesterly winds up at around 25 kilometres an hour. Temperatures overnight also set to be a lot cooler, even to below freezing through the Barrington Tops and for Walker, with a chance of frost around in the morning. Despite that cool start, we're expecting a high UV rating with maximums in the high teens for Murrurundi and the same for Scone. Now, those maximums will increase by a couple of degrees as we head into Wednesday, but winds remaining mostly light across the day until the early evening, when they'll become almost still. Daytime temperatures increasing though, 20 in Armidale, 23 in Inverell, but with those overnight lows dropping even further, Glen Innes to -1 and Tenterfield to just 2 degrees in the morning. As we head into Thursday, our weather outlook does look similar. That cool morning with some patches of frost, though, beginning to warm up through the west. Clear skies and sunshine during the day, and temperatures back to the mid-20s through Moree, 24 degrees in Tamworth, 23 for Tenterfield, and a top of 25 degrees in Murrurundi, also assisted by a nice northerly breeze blowing. Looking ahead, there is a chance of a light shower or two as we head into next week. Temperatures yo-yoing a little bit. Overall, though, a very warm start to the new season. Plenty of sunshine around as well. And Nick will be very excited because he's been waiting ages to say this. Nick, over to you.
You heard it here first. Spring has sprung.
It has sprung, absolutely.
Thanks, Kirstie. That is your local news for tonight. I'm Nick Hose. Thanks for watching. In just a moment, Dan's got your latest national and international news. Enjoy the rest of your Monday evening. And Kirstie and I will be back for more news tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. We'll see you then.
Tonight's going to be an absolute classic.
Sport. It's just not like it used to be.
Yep, sport's gone soft.
Typically, athletes in today's sport have greater endurance and aerobic capacity.
Today's in 4K. Can today's sport do this?
I think they can.
Now is the best time in sport with the best app in sport, Tab. We're on.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
At Aussie Broadband, we reckon there's more to the Aussie way than just this. Like providing our reliable services wherever you go with fast 5G mobile. Switch to great value mobile now. That's Aussie Broadband. That's the actual Aussie way.
This is 7 News, the voice of the New England.
Tonight, a new development pushing Tamworth skyline higher. Grassroots support to crack down on gambling ads.
I'm Daniel Gibson. Later on this news hour, the dramatic rescue of sailors stranded at sea for 24 hours and the race against time to protect the state from bushfire danger.
7 News begins now.
Good evening. The Tamworth CBD skyline is getting a new look, with the city's very first mid-rise apartment complex now breaking ground. It's a different feel for a country town, but developers say it's a step towards hitting Tamworth's population goals.
After more than a decade of planning, things are finally in motion for the Menzies mid-rise apartment complex on Dow Street.
to have had this amazing idea for Tamworth, and it's finally gathering momentum, which is what we've been looking forward to.
Ground is being broken with proper construction slated to begin early next year. This empty lot will eventually become this. 2 towers, 7 stories, 22 apartments, a gym, a brewery and a restaurant. For the Tamworth CBD, it's set to be a game changer.
For our building here and the brewery and the restaurant that we're building, and some office space, it's just a beautiful location.
But some locals are torn on the idea of an apartment complex, the first of its kind for the country music capital.
When I come to Tamworth many years ago, it was a nice country town. It's, in my opinion, it's getting like a Sydney suburb.
Just more traffic and more parking for the people who haven't got enough parking now, have they?
It's unlikely another mid or high-rise apartment complex will be built in the near future, but developers say it'll assist Tamworth Regional Council's plan to reach a population of 100,000 people. Despite the rise in construction costs, they claim this complex will not be affected.
We were lucky that we got the approval just at the back end of the big price rises from the COVID years to kind of 2022, so the prices have settled.
Adam Hayes owns the nearby shop, The Pie Mechanic. He thinks an influx of people will be the start of a transformation for Dow Street.
Got a kind of a little Melbourne vibe coming across with the brewery, with my bakery, with the hair salons, the boutique shopping.
Rex Quayle, 7 News.
Well, a new poll's found most Australians support a total ban on gambling ads. The federal government says it knows that there is a problem, but reforms need to be done right.
You'll often find gambling ads on your TV during sporting events or just online, making them hard to escape.
What about households where you've got children running around and it's just so normal, gambling? It's not normal. Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be normalised.
Many everyday Australians agree. A poll from the Redbridge Group found the majority of people want to see gambling ads banned.
Gambling's bad enough, affecting people's lives like it does, then putting in people's faces like they do.
The federal government's identified gambling as a serious problem. As a nation, we lose $25 billion each year, which is why online ads could be banned immediately and TV ads could be phased out within the next 2 years. But Prime Minister Albanese says a decision is yet to be made.
What we've been doing is having a consultation to make sure that we get the reforms right.
It would be a positive step, but some say it's not the complete answer.
But I think that would be better if we actually put more resources into the counselling and the support and the work around working with the individual and identifying what is the cause of that.
And not everyone agrees that reform is the answer.
I think it's up to the individual. You've got to give up smoking. If you want to do it, you do it. If you don't, you keep doing it.
Hugh Pearson, 7 News.
Concerning new research has shown the emotional abuse of children desperately needs more attention. New data reveals only half of Australians would actually report concerns about suspected child abuse to authorities.
Emotional well-being is the aim for everyone, but for children it's essential.
The toll that it has on young people, particularly children, is enormous and it can have quite dire consequences moving forward.
This National Child Protection Week, parents and the community are being encouraged to talk about safety. Support services like Pathfinders are also offering support for young people from out-of-home care to mentoring.
Trying to get the community behind young people, getting them to have a conversation, peer-to-peer, families, teachers, professionals, just so the young people's voices can be heard.
Research from Act for Kids reveals only half of Australians would report concerns about suspected child abuse, with emotional abuse the most common form among the over 45,000 confirmed cases. A lack of knowledge on how or when to report is one issue.
That sometimes in small community towns, everyone knows everyone, so it is hard to report when you don't, I suppose, want a bigger conflict to occur.
Reporting can also take an emotional toll.
Being kind of just subjected to what someone else has been through is very traumatic in itself.
Noticing red flags is key to recognising signs of emotional abuse.
Too many kids kind of go unnoticed and falling under the radar, so particularly to teachers, particularly to people working with young people, notice those signs when people change.
James Carter, 7 News.
The deadline is looming to lodge your tax return. Now, experts are sharing some tips on how to get a refund instead of being stung with a big bill.
Tax return time is quickly approaching. The deadline is October 31st if you do it yourself, but you get longer through an agent.
Our tax is a bit complicated, so we do that, but the trouble is we don't get round to it till the end of the financial year.
Financial advisor Matthew Sweeney says not much is changing this year, but the ATO will be cracking down on fraud and working from home claims. There's also a lot of things you can be audited for.
Generally where they've not included income that possibly they should, so they've not included interest on a bank account, sale of a property.
The ATO recommends if you earn business or investment income, you should consider voluntarily entering pay-as-you-go installments, giving you the flexibility of spreading out your tax payments.
This enables the payments of tax to be paid quarterly.
But the best advice is to let the experts handle it for you.
For the main part, it's making sure you've got receipts for what you're claiming, and you're claiming things that actually work, that are related to your work.
You will be getting a bit more cash in your pocket. This financial year, the Labor government introduced tax cuts to provide some cost of living relief. Australian households get an average tax cut of over $2,000, more than $40 a week. But for a lot of people, it might just be a drop in the ocean.
The cost of living's gone through the roof, so a couple of $100 here and there is not going to make much difference at all, really, for the average person.
Rex Quayle, 7 News.
Police are now asking for the community's help to find a man missing from Tamworth. 41-year-old Peter Williams was last seen on Saturday in the city's west. There are concerns for his safety. Now, if you've got any information about his whereabouts, please contact Tamworth Police or get in touch with Crime Stoppers. Embattled airline Rex is now pulling out all the stops to ensure their customers keep booking flights. The airline's now guaranteeing a full refund to all passengers if their flight happens to be cancelled. It comes after the regional airline went into voluntary administration in late July. The federal government is now also underwriting tickets. It's to help Rex get back on their feet. Legacy volunteers will be out this week raising funds to support the families of veterans. The annual appeal is feeling the impact of a tighter economy and now will allow donors to use their card.
In its 101st year, the fire is still burning bright for Legacy. Tamworth President Greg Rose is ready to launch this year's badge drive for families in need.
People remember the veterans, but a lot don't remember the families and the loss they've suffered and have to endure it over the years.
He's seen the generosity of locals since joining Legacy in 1992.
The work we do within Legacy comes from support from local communities.
With fewer people carrying cash, FPOS machines are being rolled out too, allowing those on the go to pick up a bear or badge.
Yeah, we have to move with the times and have FPOS and other means of online donations.
Donations made by the community have helped local families through hardship.
While ever in this case, the widows, while ever they need support, it's ongoing. So it could be for the whole of their lifetime. The Legacy provides that essential support.
The work of Legacy goes hand in hand with the RSL and their members.
With that, the families suffer as well. And so it's important that we take a holistic approach and look after everyone.
Both organisations are hoping to get the next generation involved with school kids to help sell badges over the next week.
Not everyone's aware of what the RSL does or Legacy and how important it is for the veteran community and their families. So it's like an education process.
Legacy will be out in shopping centres and on Peel Street over Friday and Saturday. James Carter, 7 News.
Well, our local weather expert Kirstie is here now for a look at today's conditions. And Kirstie, blue skies out there today.
Yeah, a lot of sunshine around for us, Nick. Hello to you and good evening, everybody. Despite the sun, though, those overnight temperatures plummeted, leaving us quite cold this morning with patches of frost around the region too. We fell to just 1 degree in Tamworth, but at 7 a.m. it was already 8 degrees. And as that sun continued to rise, our temperatures also continued to climb, though they did remain quite a few degrees cooler than average in the west, and certainly cooler than the temperatures we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Narrabri just 19 degrees and Gunnedah a top of 20. It was warmer than average in the east, though. We reached 21 in Inverell and 20 degrees today in Glen Innes, and a much calmer day overall following yesterday's very strong and windy weather. Today, a south to southwesterly breeze that was light for most of us. We are expecting some frost around tomorrow ahead of blue skies and sunshine and warming up from Thursday. I'll have the full forecast after sport.
That sounds great, Kirstie. We'll see you soon. Up next in 7 News, Werris Creek CWA now fighting for survival. And a classic fairy tale comes to life on stage in Quirindi.
And a little later on, this news out of the dramatic rescue of a stranded sailor more than 100 kilometres off our coast. Also tonight, the race to clean up Sydney before dangerous conditions return. And airfare slashed on dozens of destinations. How you can grab a bargain.
Werris Creek.
Emily is made for more. Each day is a chance to learn new skills. Achievements made more rewarding when the whole team celebrate. It's the people who make WesTrack. Apply for something new today.
Now's the time to get into the Mazda BT50 XT from $49,990 ABN Drive Away, or the BT50 SP now from $64,670 ABN Drive Away. Visit your local dealer and drive away today.
Some people reckon this is the Aussie way. Sure, but at Aussie Broadband we reckon there's a little more to it. Like providing our reliable services wherever you go, with fast 5G mobile. So your family group chat can see Jack on the swing. And Jack falling off the swing.
I'm okay.
With great data inclusions and coverage, and great value mobile plans with no BS.
Did you see that, Dad?
That's Aussie Broadband. That's the actual Aussie way.
Ooh, someone's making a meal of it.
Reversing's tricky.
Oh, no worries. You're with Budget Direct.
Moneybag's Insurer of the Year. 8 years in a row.
Insurance solved with Budget Direct.
We all know life goes way too fast, especially with kids. But with the 7-seat Isuzu MUX, you can savor every second. From the moment you take them home for the first time, to what feels like 10 minutes later, when you're picking them up from a gig in the city. Live your own way in the 7-seat Isuzu MUX.
Go your own way.
CWA is now considering rewriting the rule book to attract new members. The shake-up could include weekend meetings and allow children to come along to make it easier for working mums to join.
For over 93 years, the Werris Creek CWA has been the backbone of the community, raising funds for organisations, championing the needs of local women. The list goes on. Despite gaining 2 new members 3 weeks ago, the association is still at risk of closing.
This morning we're having a meet and greet of interested ladies who maybe want to be members of the CWA.
They currently have 5 members on the books. With 3 or less, they would need to shut down. But today, more fresh faces were in the room. A relief for branch president Wendy O'Brien.
We'll just discuss today what CWA is about and how we're going to change as well to fall in with everyone's needs, which we hadn't done previously.
The Werris Creek branch will look into changing the time and dates of their meetings to either evenings or weekends to accommodate working mothers.
People are time poor. People haven't got the time to dedicate to organisations because sometimes it could be 3 or 4 hours a week you need to set aside to be a volunteer.
There's growing concern without change, Werris Creek CWA won't expand and attract more people.
Well, I've even had suggestions, can we bring our kids? And we can work in with that as well.
Rachel Holdsworth, 7 News.
An independent review has provided 81 recommendations into reforming the state's opal mining industry. Last year, more than 3,000 mineral claims in Lightning Ridge and White Cliffs were made invalid due to an administration bungle. The review has now recommended the industry improve environmental and rehabilitation outcomes, as well as updating costs and compensation frameworks. The government is now considering the report and is set to respond by the end of the year. Students at St Joseph's Public School in Kirstie have put their very modern spin on a Disney fairy tale. The curtains go up tomorrow on their production of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs.
It's taken 7 months and 8 weeks of rehearsals to bring Snow White to life on stage in Kirstie. St Joseph's primary students are ready to show off their masterpiece.
We are pleased to present a most marvelous story of fairy tale glory.
63 students from all years taking part in their school production. They had to audition. Many landed the roles they were hoping for.
I auditioned for Snow White.
And what was that feeling like when you found out?
Oh, I was so over the moon. It was just so exciting. I was so excited and I was so happy because it's like such a fun role to play.
And there's a range of characters, from the woodland creatures to the trees, the evil queen's witches, and of course the famous 7 Dwarfs.
I always look on the bright side of life. They call me happy.
Likely to make people belly laugh in the audience.
My favourite line is I'm a sourpuss. What's it to you? They call me Grumpy.
It's a modern spin on a fairy tale classic. And of course with a touch of Taylor Swift.
Do you guys love Taylor Swift?
Yes.
It's inspired a new generation of actors.
I reckon I could take acting as a career if I wanted, yeah.
It will kick off tomorrow afternoon for their free matinee show, with Thursday night expected to sell out. Rachel Holdsworth, 7 News.
Up next in sport, your chance to thank a local sporting hero. And riders saddle up for barrel racing's national finals.
Tomorrow on Sunrise, Supermarket Shampoo Showdown. The best value brands put to the test.
Plus the blockbuster sequel 36 years in the making. The stars of Beetlejuice are dropping in for brekkie. See you in the morning.
A fast-paced equine event is thundering towards the ALEC this weekend. The Barrel Racing National Finals is years of work coming down to just a few short seconds in the main arena.
Forget bottom of the barrel, because these riders are the best in the saddle.
All the top competitors from around the country are all under the one roof, so it's going to be an incredible event. The best of the best will be here, best horses, best cowgirls, cowboys.
The Australian Barrel Horse Association Finals gives fast-paced riders a shot at a national championship buckle.
What's on offer here is the national championship title, so you'll be the Australian champion at the end of it. We have 8 divisions through that as well. Nothing better than being the Australian champion, is there?
This year, is expected to set a new benchmark.
We've got record entries this year. We've got 511 competitors in the Open, 220 in the juniors. We've got 200 odd in the pole bending, so it is an amazing event.
But that is no surprise for organisers. A barrel racing boom from coast to coast is the reason for the uptick.
The sport is growing nationwide, and people want to come and compete at venues like this as well. So it's just a combination of things adding up, but it really is, the sport is growing around the country.
On Friday night, the top 50 will square off inside the arena.
Saturday evening, we'll also have a futurity and maturity event as well. So there's plenty to see. It's fast, exciting, and it's, as we said, free entry. Where else would you want to be?
Max again, 7 News.
Well, just 2 teams remain in the fight for the Group 4 Premiership. Boggabri have secured their first grand final in 60 years after upsetting Werris Creek in the prelim. They will now make the trip to Borton Oval this weekend, taking on the Moree Boars, who took out the minor premiership in August. Kick-off is at 2:45 with Women's League tag and reserve grade the Curtain Raisers. Well, this weekend, the New England Rugby Union decider kicks off at UNE. The top 2 teams will clash, with first place Robb College facing off against the Armidale Blues. The game will kick off at 3 p.m. at Bellevue Oval. Well, it is that time of year when the local community bands together to celebrate the unsung heroes of our sporting culture. The Tamworth Regional Sports Awards have now opened nominations across several categories. The event is targeted at any volunteer, player, coach or administrator, no matter what code they're a part of.
Sport comes in all forms now, and we want to find those gems that are in the Tamworth community, whether they're playing rugby league at the highest level or whether they're playing in a more obscure sport.
Nominations close on Tuesday, the 15th of October. Up next in 7 News, Kirstie is back and she's got your Wednesday weather forecast. That's up next.
Good evening, everyone.
Jake is made for more, ready to tackle any task, whether on the turf or beyond the field. Each day is a chance to make his mark. It's the people who make West Track. Join the winning team today.
Reimagine outdoor cooking with the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven. Unlock high-heat woodfire flavour you can see and taste. Smoke low and slow or crank up the heat for blistering crunch. From artisan pizzas to smoky woodfire creations. Add authentic woodfire flavours to anything you make. Share the flavours of your world with the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven. Go and vote. The 2024 New South Wales Local Council elections are on Saturday, September 14. Voting is compulsory, so you need to plan where and how to vote. To find your nearest polling place and to find out how to fill out a ballot paper, visit elections.nsw.gov.au. Go and vote.
As a mum, I'm so glad that I found the world's first 3-in-1 child shield by Energizer. It's the only coin lithium battery with 3 safety features, all designed to help keep our curious little children safe.
Some people reckon this is the Aussie way. Sure. But at Aussie Broadband, we reckon there's a little more to it. Like actually helping a mate when they need it. Telling it straight, without the BS. Go for the green. Always daring to do things differently. With help from the latest tech. Lanos Flowers. High performance tech grounded in Australian values.
That's Aussie Broadband. That's the actual Aussie way.
I thought I knew what perfection was. And then I met you. I do.
Who's this handsome
fella? Bring it in. Say I do to Institute.
It's been a long road. Months of missteps became pirouettes, and 2 left feet turned right. Finally, tonight, there's a dance floor that's yours for the taking. Go from A to centre stage with Ampol Amplify Premium Fuels, engineered for tough Aussie conditions.
Everyone, a high-pressure system across the state is keeping skies calm and settled with heat building throughout the week, along with warm northerly winds. The next trough is set to arrive late into Thursday, returning us to the windy weather, as well as the chance of showers, and we'll start to see those temperatures dropping off by the weekend. At this stage, though, minimal showers are forecast under this approaching system. Most of the state not expecting any more than around 5 millimetres or so. For the New England and northwest tomorrow, though, a cool morning will likely lead to some patches of frost, mainly through the southern slopes. Corindi waking to 1 degree, but a sunny top of 22, and we'll see those temperatures sitting in the low to mid-20s. Warm north to northeasterly winds, but becoming gusty at times. A cool morning below freezing for both Armidale and Walker, maximums in the high teens and low 20s. They will climb into the mid-20s for Thursday, though, as warm winds help retain some of that heat. Northeasterlies up to 25 kilometres an hour in the morning, but easing through the afternoon. That hot day for Walgett with 27 degrees, blue skies and sunshine. Again, some frost around through the east, 1 degree as we wake in Glen Innes, but reaching that top of 20. In Varel, a top of 23 degrees. And Friday's forecast will be similar, a mostly sunny day, but minimums back to double figures through Moree, Narrabri and Walgett and Weewar further west. Cooler for most of the other parts of the region, though, including Armidale waking to 4 degrees. But we're expecting even stronger winds as we head into the end of the working week. Those winds will start pulling warm air into the region from the north, but by the evening they'll begin to ease. Scone a top of 26 degrees and a top of 16 for the Barrington tops. Looking ahead, those temperatures will continue to rise into Saturday and into Sunday before dropping back to the low 20s early next week. After tomorrow, though, we'll start to climb out of the chilly nights that are on the forecast as well. Quite nice conditions, but those winds increasing over the next few days. Nice to see spring-like weather, though, for this season.
It certainly is, because spring has sprung.
It sure has. You're so right.
Thanks, Kirstie. And that is your local news for tonight. I'm Nick Hose. Thanks for watching. In just a moment, Dan has your latest national and international news. Enjoy the rest of your night. Kirstie and I are back tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.
You're invited to the Bedthreads 7th birthday sale. Save 15% on almost everything site-wide. Plus over 30% off bedding bundles. All crafted from 100% French flax linen. That's cool in summer, warm in winter, and softer with every wash. Bedthreads 7th birthday sale. Don't miss out. Shop now at bedthreads.com.au.
They want you to control them.
Do you know what's influencing your kids? Learn the hidden trends of disrespect before they lead to violence.
Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra. This is 7 News, the voice of the Central West.
Tonight, understaffed maternity units expected to struggle with new recommendations. The Nationals trying to grow a nuclear supporter base in Portland.
I'm Daniel Gibson. Later on this news hour, a woman in hospital after being attacked by a tiger on the Gold Coast. And the state on high alert as wild weather turns deadly.
7 News begins now.
Good evening. Mums in Parks fear an inquiry into traumatic births won't deliver for the thousands of women who rely on a hospital that's understaffed. Now, that sentiment is held right across the region, with some slamming the findings as lacklustre, and they say hope is running out.
Outside a state-of-the-art hospital which doesn't have the doctors to deliver the care it promised.
I've had 3 babies whilst being in Parks, and none have been able to be birthed in this beautiful, not even 10 years old hospital.
Parks mums Nat Williams and Hannah Porter share similar stories, having to travel out of town to give birth.
Frustration, yes, but just fear. It was fear, and I was anxious. You send us to Sydney and you're just increasing the trauma. You send us to Orange, like that's even traumatic in itself. Forbes was a little bit traumatic.
An inquiry examined the traumatic birthing experiences of women across the state. As a result, the state government will pursue 5 initiatives.
One of those was continuity of care, but to not put that effort into staffing a hospital that services not just this town of more than 10,000, but this entire region.
And for a town with no obstetricians, having the same face throughout the birthing experience is just not possible.
And really sends the message of, we'll do all these things, but actually not for you.
Over in Orange, the stories are similar.
And we have had some birth trauma and loss included in our story. So, going through and explaining that to every single doctor and every single midwife we see is quite traumatic.
While services at the local hospital are better, it's an experience only few receive.
That's what I'm seeing in my own practice, is that I'm getting a lot of demand from other sites outside of Orange, particularly Bathurst, wanting my care because they cannot access continuity bottles. Feel a little bit deflated with, sort of what they've come back with. I think it's, really important for women to actually see action in that space.
Showing more than just an inquiry is needed to deliver change. Declan Milton, 7 News.
Well, the Minns government will push for tougher penalties on repeat domestic violence offenders. It's all part of a new range of reforms. It'll mean perpetrators found to have breached their ADVOs 3 or more times will face up to 5 years in jail. In Orange last week, the Premier declared the state isn't making the desired progress when it comes to cracking down on domestic violence.
It's a good thing that we're looking at ADVOs, but we also need to be looking at the judicial process and how we fund the judiciary so that the offences that these people are charged with, often with an interim ADVO, are heard quickly before the court.
Legislation will be introduced in State Parliament later this month. And of course, if you or anyone you know needs support, you can contact 1-800-RESPECT. It's 1-800-737-732. The Federal Environment Minister is continuing to cop it over her decision to block a tailings dam at the proposed gold mine near Blaney. Lauren Evans joins us now. Lauren, it seems there's just no end in sight here.
Nick, it's clear Tanya Plibersek is not backing down despite the McPhillamys gold project under serious threat. The Environment Minister used a rare Indigenous heritage law to protect the site from becoming a tailings dam which stores mining waste products. Federal MP Barnaby Joyce is the latest to fire up, questioning Ms Plibersek over who she consulted when making this decition.
The Wiradjuri Traditional Owners Central West Aboriginal Corporation.
Give us the names of the people you're talking to.
I'm not going to start naming individuals. What an absurd proposition.
But it's a representative Questions still remain over whether Regis Resources can find an alternative site for the tailings dam after declaring the project was no longer viable.
OK, watch this space. Lauren Evans, thank you. Well, police are on the hunt for criminals who allegedly stole and torched a car in Dubbo. It now joins a list of over 600 vehicles which have been destroyed right across the region in just 12 months. And the Police Minister today heard from those victims firsthand.
A picture which tells the story of yet another victim. This car was allegedly torched along Thompson Street in Dubbo on Saturday morning. The car reported stolen from a Corinda Crescent home only hours earlier. It's a crime that is constantly the focus of police, who are shining a torch, particularly on youths.
We've got a small group of young fellow people around who are causing problems across our region. We're looking to obviously target those offenders where possible, but we're also looking to put in our diversion programs.
Today, the Police Minister arrived in Dubbo, meeting the new Western Region Commander, also holding a roundtable discussion with service providers looking for solutions to curb youth crime.
We know that there is, $500 million thrown at crisis services, yet we're not seeing that demonstrate in a positive way on the streets.
Diversionary programs, the role of the PCYC and non-government agencies, all in the spotlight.
Mainly the big thing for us is to put them in touch with their education services as well.
Since launching Operation Regional Mongoose nearly 12 months to the day, police across the Western region have investigated 684 break and enters and 603 stolen vehicles. They've charged 212 people, including 141 juveniles, over the crimes. They've also caught repeat offenders, issuing 397 breach of bail offences. The Police Minister this morning hearing from victims.
People are fearful in their own homes, in their own streets.
An issue which is in need of a solution.
What we want to do is we want to see our courts empty, and we want to see our police out policing on other things than the likes of youth crime.
Hamish Southwell, 7 News.
The cost of the federal opposition's ambitious nuclear plan will be revealed before the end of the year. That's according to the leader of the Nationals. David Littleproud arrived in Lithgow to speak with the community, who remain divided.
A whistle-stop visit to reignite the vision for a nuclear future.
This will be the largest investment by any federal government in the Central West ever.
But the debate is not all one-way traffic, according to the Lithgow community.
I'm not against nuclear power and I'm not actually for it, but we have to find something.
Dead set against that.
Why?
It's too risky, it's too dangerous.
Well, I think it's the way to go.
David Littleproud today visiting Portland, then Lithgow, where opposition leader Peter Dutton proposed nearby Mount Piper as one of 7 potential nuclear sites across the country.
77% of those people working in a coal-fired power station down the road today will transition across into the nuclear power plant, but there'll be more jobs and higher paying jobs into the future as well. It's just common sense.
While David Littleproud is here in Lithgow today to promote nuclear power, many local businesses are reluctant to throw their support behind it, claiming they don't know enough about the opposition's plan.
When he shows it, they will believe it, sort of thing, you know. But until then, they haven't got a plan.
I don't really know enough about it.
Mr Littleproud arguing that the detail was on its way.
Well before the end of the year, but it won't be just the costings. We'll actually show our entire grid,
which, according to him, includes nuclear, gas and renewables.
We're not going down an all renewables path. We're not putting all our energy eggs in one basket. We'll spread our risk and make sure that we attract industry and keep manufacturing going in this country.
Lauren Evans, 7 News.
An investigation is underway into a house fire in Dubbo. The Gilbert Street home went up in smoke on Sunday morning, which could be seen right across the city. Police spent today outside the badly damaged property. Now, luckily, nobody was injured in the fire. However, the cause of the blaze is under investigation. Kirstie's here now for a look at today's weather conditions. And Kirstie, some big wind gusts out there today.
Yes, there certainly were, Nick. Hello to you and good evening, everybody. Starting on our satellite picture, we can see this line of very strong and high winds sweeping through parts of our region. That has led to a severe weather warning for damaging winds across parts of the central tablelands. Wind gusts in Bathurst hit 60 kilometres an hour at lunchtime. The same in Cowrie. In fact, those winds were so strong, the wind chill sent temperatures plummeting as much as 10 degrees. At 2 p.m, it felt like 1 degree at Orange, and it felt like just 6 degrees in Young. A few light clouds were about today, but otherwise it was a mostly fine day. Windy in the west too, though. Dubbo recording 70 kilometre an hour wind gusts. Now, the good news is these winds will ease significantly as we head into tomorrow. Temperatures set to increase later on in the week too. I'll have a look at that forecast a little after sport, Nick.
That is some good news, Kirstie. Thank you. Up next in 7 News, some asthmatics can now breathe a little bit easier. And farmers warn visitors to stay out of social media-worthy canola crops.
And a little later on this news hour, an emergency at a Gold Coast theme park as a handler is attacked by a tiger. Kathleen Folbig's public plea for compensation after her murder convictions were quashed. And the Roosters' worst fears confirmed as 3 stars are hit with injuries.
Millions of...
The party comes. The party goes. The new look comes. The new look goes. The omelette comes. The omelette goes. But our products last. Last and last. Long-lasting products for sustainable cleaning. Vileda. It feels great to feel at home. New
Colour Studio. Visibly healthier coloured hair in 3 steps. Prime for protecting any hair type. Colour for rich tones. Revitalise for lasting vibrancy. Colour Studio by Clairol Professional. Next level colour in your hands.
Beautiful fish, yes. Now give me finer than the finest fragrances and their exotic accents. Black vanilla. Take it up. Aqua Vermont. Now give me endless abs. Oh yeah, there we're talking. Majestic animals. Blue lavender. Fine.
Finer than the finest fragrances. New Link's Fine Fragrance Collection. Out now.
Success.
I'll be riding shotgun.
Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive has tackled Australia's rugged terrain for generations, inviting adventure at every turn.
Underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone.
Now introducing the all-new, all-electric Subaru Solterra, the latest SUV to join Subaru's CanStar Blue award-winning range. It's you and Subaru for a world discovered. See you out there.
Your humble hatchback, Pierre, had a horn with a pop-pop sound. Pierre looked like a roller skate, drove like a dream. When you farewelled your old life, Pierre was there. A car doesn't have to move fast to move you. If it's precious to you, protect it with us. GIO, protect precious.
Asthma sufferers can now benefit from 60-day prescriptions. The program essentially halves the price of some medications and is expected to save patients hundreds of dollars every year.
A big break for 10% of the population.
We know that asthma is highly prevalent in society. We've got 2.8 million Australians living with asthma.
Asthma Australia found more than half of people with the disease don't have it under control, skipping treatments due to the expense.
We've got a whole lot of people at various stages, all of whom are suffering from cost of living crisis.
60-day dispensing gives patients the option to take double the amount of medicine for the price of one script.
That it subsidises medicines for all people, which means that you get medicines according to your need, not according to your ability to pay.
It's very important for people living with asthma to keep sufficient supply of their preventer and not to let it run low because that's when asthma attacks can creep up.
The most common preventers are now on the list, hoping to emphasise control, not just temporary relief. The most a pensioner will have to pay for any medicine on the PBS is now just $7.70 or $31.60 for anyone without a concession card.
The preventers that are on the list are all of the common ones, the ones that are used most regularly, and this is going to be a big advantage for people with asthma.
Danny Sharp, 7 News.
Farmers are issuing a stern warning after multiple people entered their properties to take snaps of the canola bloom. And while the photos are pretty spectacular, they say there's a lack of awareness and they want tourists to be more mindful of private property.
Flocking to the fields to get the social media shot, many people are already making use of the canola trail in its full bloom, but farmers around the region say tourists need to respect the fence line.
Probably the main concern for us is damage to the crop because the last group that had wandered on were breaking plants off.
Ross Walters and his wife are local farmers. They've already had 4 families cross their fence without permission. They say it compromises their crop and their biosecurity.
We don't know where those people have been prior to here. If they're bringing disease, pests onto our property, we don't need that.
Mr. Walters says there needs to be a bit more education so that visitors and landowners can both enjoy the canola season.
You know, you can get great photos from outside the fence, or at least ask the farmer. Have presence of mind to go, well, hang on, it's not my paddock, maybe I should ask somebody if I can wander in there.
The Walters have now put signs on their fence which helps identify the do's and don'ts.
We've already seen a number of people break the law. In fact, it's trespassing by going onto a farm and trying to get that unique photograph, but there are very real dangers. There are snakes and the like out and about in the crops. There are biosecurity hazards.
Respecting private property applies to all of the canola trail, which weaves throughout regional communities. Failure to stay on the right side of the fence may result in fines of up to $12,000.
We put a lot of work into getting this crop this far, and it costs a lot of money to grow a crop, and I think that needs to be emphasised as well.
Marla Summer, 7 News.
Up next in sport, an incredible Peter McDonald Premiership qualifying final going into extra time. And Cooler claims a historic win in Castlereagh Rugby League. Welcome back. The Cooler Kangaroos have made history on Castlereagh Rugby League Grand Final Day. It's their first year back in the competition since 2017, and now they've broken a 59-year drought.
Flanked by the Roosters faithful, grand final host Cobar ready to do battle. Despite their home field advantage, it was the visitors that drew first blood. The Kangaroos crossed over for another 2 tries to lead 14-0 before Cobar finally got on the board. The Roosters had ramped up the pressure and Cooler collapsed. Cooler were down a man for the tip tackle and Cobar capitalised straight away to get the home side back in it. The Kangaroos responded in the shadows of the break to lead 22-8. Some halftime entertainment tried to spur on a Cobar comeback, the Roosters wrestling with their Cooler counterparts. It took 20 minutes, but the Kangaroos went over for the first points of the second half. Tensions began to boil over as Cobar's premiership hopes were slipping away. Cooler collected themselves and Kangaroos captain Chance Burgess landed the knockout blow. Cobar threw everything at Cooler in a last-ditch effort, but it was the Kangaroos bounding into history, returning to the competition for the first time since 2017 and winning the club's first premiership since 1965. Cooler defeated Cobar 32 points to 8 to conquer Castlereagh Rugby League. Mac Reith-Snare, 7 News.
Also fighting for premiership glory in Cobar were Castlereagh's Youth League and League tag teams. Cobar hosting Gulgog in their youth grand final, while the Roosters ran over the top of the Bull Terriers in extra time to win the premiership. Now in League tag, Narromine claimed their second straight title after edging out Cooler in a thrilling grand final. Mudgee Dragons have won through to the Peter McDonald Premiership Grand Final. The Group 10 Rugby League powerhouse defeated defending premiers Dubbo Sims in an epic prelim final.
When Ethan Peggis kicked off the prelim final, he had no idea he'd later play a decisive role, especially when Dubbo came out of the gates piping hot, scoring the game's first 3 tries. The 2023 Grand Final rematch was a one-sided affair to start, but Mudgee was slowly building. A devastating ankle injury to Mudgee prop forward Zach Sadler put the game on pause for just shy of an hour. After returning to the field, Claude Gordon was sin-binned for his high tackle on Sadler. When the dust settled, Dubbo led 14 points to 0 before Mudgee got on the board. The Dragons were starting to heat up. Mudgee skipper Jack Beasley went himself for the home side's second try. Billy Carberry got a bit excited, lining up Alex Bonham and was given a rest. The Fishies took advantage, Jeremy Thurston putting Billy Singh over to lead 20-12 at the break. Mudgee halfback Tom Lawson started to get his hands on the footy and created space for Jake Durant. Fishies fullback Thurston slotted a penalty goal to make it 22-16. With only minutes remaining, Mudgee's David West stepped up. That try made it 22-20, giving Billy Carberry a chance to redeem himself. A sideline conversion sent the game to extra time, where Durant did it again. Carberry kicked another belter from the sideline, and the Dragons led 28-22. The second period of extra time saw the ball in the hands of the man that started the prelim almost 3 hours prior. Ethan Pegas was the first and last kick of the prelim final to send his Mudgee Dragons to the big dance.
Seems to be the trend. We start games a bit slow and we lost Big Zaki, but it's just a credit to our character. Like, we stuck deep and they had all the ball. We hung in, and then as soon as we got a bit of possession, we just played our footy.
That footy sees the Dragons flying into a home Peter McDonald Premiership Grand Final. Mac Reith Snare, 7 News.
And after their 29-22 extra time win, Mudgee will now take on Parks after the Spacemen crush Bathurst and Pats. The second Peter Mac prelim saw Parks put 50 points on the Saints, punching their grand final ticket. Now in league tag, St Pat's women's team was able to get the job done, clinching yet another grand final berth. They'll now take on Dubbo Macquarie after the Raiders beat Hawks. There's plenty of wind about. Up next, Kirstie's got your local weather forecast, everything you need to know for the next few days.
Welcome back, everyone. A very strong cold.
Step into spring and refresh your bathroom with 20% off store-wide. Save 20% off store-wide on tapware, baths, basins, vanities, and much more. Hurry! Sale ends September 8th.
At Aussie Broadband, we reckon there's more to the Aussie way than just this. Like providing our reliable services wherever you go with fast 5G mobile. Switch to great value mobile now. That's Aussie Broadband. That's the actual Aussie way.
Inside some supermarket aisle wholemeal, you can find over 20 ingredients. A rather complex process for bread. Baker's Delight high fibre, low GI wholemeal. Fewer ingredients, double the fibre.
Cold front has brought wild weather to parts of New South Wales and Victoria with damaging and destructive winds. This system will move offshore but will bring a cool southerly wind change behind it. A high pressure system will also build more stable and settled weather during the middle of the week before the next frontal system arrives into Thursday as those winds strengthen, but our temperatures also begin to warm up. Now, we're not out of the woods just yet with these wild winds, but rain-wise, most of the state will remain fine and dry over the coming week, including those of us across the central west. For our region tomorrow, blue skies and a settled day with winds easing, but we could feel that cooler southwesterly breeze. Temperatures in the west overnight up to the high teens and the low 20s, but overnight lows cooling down with the chance of some frost returning for some of us in the morning. Maximums up at 20 degrees through Cobar and Coonamble, reaching the low teens though through parts of the east, including Orange. Despite those temperatures, a high UV rating is forecast. Lithgow heading for 15 and Parks the same. About a 4 to 5 degree jump in temperatures heading into Wednesday though, back to the high teens and the low to mid 20s. A clear and sunny day for most of us, but again starting to feel a little breezier as those winds begin to pick up slightly. 19 on the way for Bathurst following an overnight low of below freezing -1, and the same through Young. Again, that chance of frost is likely first thing. Tracking into Thursday now, this is when we'll start to see temperatures soaring well well into the mid-20s, the high 20s even through Cobar and Nyngan, 27 and 28 degrees. But along with the temperatures, those winds will increase. North to northwesterlies back up to about 35 kilometres an hour with even stronger wind gusts. Remaining fine and sunny though, and we can see those overnight lows also beginning to increase. 7 overnight in Cowra and reaching a top of 24. If we look ahead to the next 7 days though, we can start to see the chance of a light shower or two as we head into the end of the weekend and early next week. Temperatures certainly yo-yoing a little bit at the moment. Possible tops of 20 degrees through orange at the end of this week and then dropping off once again into early next week. Nice to see some sunshine around, but certainly keeping an eye on this little bit of volatile weather with the winds around
We
Nick.
certainly will, Kirstie. So spring has sprung.
Spring has sprung. We can officially say that.
You heard it here first. Thanks, Kirstie. That is your local news for tonight. I'm Nick Hose. Thanks for watching. In just a moment, Dan has your latest national and international news. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And Kirstie and I will be back tomorrow night. We'll see you at 6 o'clock.
This is 7 News, the voice of the Central West.
Tonight, the moment $200,000 worth of handguns are stolen. Dashcam footage highlights the dangers truck drivers face every trip.
I'm Daniel Gibson. Later on this news hour, the dramatic rescue of sailors stranded at sea for 24 hours and the race against time to protect the state from bushfire danger.
7 News begins now.
Good evening. Tonight we can bring you the moment a Lithgow small arms factory was targeted by criminals. The thieves stealing irreplaceable handguns, and detectives now fear they could be spread right across the state.
Forcing their way into the building in the early hours of the morning on August 25. This is the moment a group of thieves smashed through glass cabinets with a sledgehammer, taking with them 27 handguns worth more than $200,000.
When we see the amount of planning that this particular incident has demonstrated to us, there is no doubt that these weapons now are in the hands of criminals.
Detectives from the state's Drug and Firearms Squad releasing CCTV footage of the break-in at Lithgow's Small Arms Factory Museum.
Anyone with the smallest amount of information as to who may be responsible or where these firearms are located, we need to hear from you.
As there are fears these inoperable weapons could be used for manufacturing.
I'm taking it very seriously, and we're working hand in glove with the local community and the State Crime Command.
Here in the reference library, the remaining firearms have been taken off display as the museum remains closed and the investigation continues. And for the volunteers, they don't know when they'll be able to reopen their doors.
It's been devastating. The museum's been here for 26 years. It's more than just a firearms museum. It's a historical museum. It's part of Australia's history.
The search has widened after police discovered a stolen Toyota Land Cruiser was used to escape after the robbery. The vehicle, which detectives believe was stolen from Nowra 2 days prior, was later found in Bathurst, destroyed by fire. Lauren Evans, 7 News.
The brutal killing of 10-year-old Bridget Porter will now be debated in Parliament after the Justice for Biddy petition reached its target. Sharing her story with 7 News, Biddy's mother has thanked those who made the campaign possible.
It's a step towards justice as the parents of Bridget Porter fight for change.
It feels so amazing. I'm so grateful for the support of the community and everyone that's stood by.
20,000 signatures required for Orange MP Phil Donato to trigger a debate on the floor of Parliament. After the Orange schoolgirl was killed by a teenager in 2020, the case couldn't be spoken about until 2 months ago.
This campaign hasn't just been about justice for Bridget, it's about changing a broken system.
Biddy's parents calling for parliamentary inquiries into the Director of Public Prosecution's handling of Biddy's case, as well as greater transparency into how the mental tribunal operates.
There really needs to be some level of scrutiny placed on some of these government agencies in the way this particular matter was dealt with.
Mr Donato hoping to raise the matter in Parliament by the end of this month as he pushes for a parliamentary inquiry into the handling of Biddy's case.
Depending on what other petitions could be in front of us, but I've got a gut feeling there isn't any 20,000 signatures in front of us.
The petition set up by Advocacy Australia, who fought tooth and nail to have Biddy's story heard.
Every story is heartbreaking, but what we found with Biddy's story was that there were signs it was preventable.
With Alice determined to change Biddy's legacy.
Biddy's campaign is a perfect example of why we established Advocacy Australia, because we have empowered Biddy's family to be able to have a voice, and not only that, we've given Biddy back her voice.
Lauren Evans, 7 News.
Heart-stopping dashcam footage has captured the daily near misses that truckies encounter on our rural roads. The transport company at the centre of the close calls have now released the vision to urge drivers to change their dangerous behaviour.
On a night shift hauling fuel across the bush, a quiet run which suddenly turns into chaos when a car fails to give way. The look on the truck driver's face says it all after having to jam on the brakes.
And we see a lot of them. There's a lot of that driver out there, the one that crosses the road in front of you, the one that pulls out in front of you, the one that passes on double lanes or has to jam himself into the middle of traffic.
This is on board the trucking fleet at Lowe's Petroleum, who have released their near misses as awareness for this year's Rural Road Safety Month. Here, in the middle of the night, a car turns in front of a truck travelling just under 100 kilometres an hour.
Well, I think it's really concerning to learn that almost half of New South Wales drivers are guilty of taking risks in regional and remote areas.
From January to July this year, 92 lives have been lost in collisions involving heavy vehicles. Of that, 60 were in regional areas, including fatals outside of Tamingli, as well as between Forbes and Parkes.
Our research showed that I think the most dominant dangerous acts that have been committed on those regional roads are things like speeding, driving while they're fatigued, and also using a mobile phone.
Safety awareness and avoiding distractions are the key messages from advocates to address the concerning trend. Last year, New South Wales recorded the highest number of deaths on rural roads, accounting for 233 of 811 lives lost nationally.
40% were passengers or pedestrians who had no choice and no decision-making process in an accident that occurred around them. That worries me.
A worry that touches family and friends in every rural town when tragedy strikes. Hamish Southwell, 7 News.
Well, the Nationals candidate for Clare, Sam Farraway, is under pressure tonight to resign from his state parliament post. He's being accused of ignoring his parliamentary duties, instead to focus on running for a federal seat. Mr Farraway denies that he's campaigning. That's even after his boss admitted they are.
On a tour of the region alongside National Party heavyweights, meeting the voters Sam Farraway needs for his run into federal politics.
But the only way to give you certainty is to vote for Sam Farraway, because if we don't win Clare, you get 3 more years of Anthony Albanese.
But in the halls of state parliament today was a chance for politicians to quiz the transport minister. Sam Farraway, who's deputy chair of that committee, wasn't there.
Sam Farraway has substituted out in order to campaign in the federal seat of Clare, and this is completely inappropriate.
No, I totally disagree.
Mr Farraway's salary as a member of state parliament starts at $170,000. He's then paid an expenses allowance, taking that up to at least $240,000.
How would you respond to claims that you're campaigning on taxpayer dollars? But I'm not campaigning, I'm representing the good people of the Central West.
The party's leader says this.
Well, it is. This is a campaign up until the election day, which will probably be next year. This is not campaigning today. There is no political fundraisers. This is about engagement.
I think ask anyone in the street and they'll tell you it's a campaign.
The Nationals are spending this week touring the Central West. Yesterday they were in Lithgow, spruiking their nuclear power policy. Today in this forum, they're asking locals to bring forward issues which matter to them.
The bottom line is, if you are being paid more than $240,000 a year to be a full-time New South Wales MP, you can't be out campaigning for a federal seat. You must resign.
When the Prime Minister calls the election, I will resign from the State Parliament. I've made that very clear.
But even on Mr. Littleproud's admission, that may not be until next year. Declan Milton, 7 News.
Well, Kirstie's here now for a look at today's weather conditions. And gosh, Kirstie, it was pretty wintry this morning, wasn't it?
It was very hard to get out of bed with these minimum temperatures. Nick, hello to you and good evening, everyone. Our overnights plummeted, leaving us very cold this morning, even with patches of frost around the region too. We fell to below freezing in Parkes, Young and Grenfell around 6 a.m. But fortunately, as the sun rose, our temperatures climbed, though they did remain a few degrees cooler than average and certainly cooler than the temperatures we've seen over the last couple of weeks. In the west, we had a top of 18 degrees in Dubbo today and 17 through both Nyngan and Condobolin. It was calmer today too, though, after yesterday's very strong winds. We had a south to southeasterly breeze this afternoon for most of the region. Frost is possible again tomorrow ahead of blue skies and sunshine. Temperatures warming up into the middle of the week. I'll have that forecast a little later on.
That does sound good, Kirstie. We'll see you soon. Up next in 7 News, we've got the tips on how to maximise your tax return. And students learn a very important lesson about dangerous driving.
And a little later on, this news hour, the dramatic rescue of a stranded sailor more than 100 kilometres off our coast. Also tonight, the race to clean up Sydney before dangerous conditions return. And airfare slashed on dozens of destinations. How you can grab a bargain.
Firefighters are taking their battle to the region's schools. They're fed up with seeing too many crashes on our roads. Tonight, they're targeting young people to expose them to the harsh realities of what can go wrong.
Swapping the school grounds for a heavy wreckage crash scene.
We come and do the demonstration where we cut up the car and they can see what actually happens at an accident scene.
Very surprising to see how much damage can actually be done and how much work it is to actually make sure someone is safe.
And like any other job, firefighters get to it.
It just reinforces what the consequences are of dangerous driving and what happens if they are involved in an accident.
Equipped with the heavy tools, they're on a mission to reach as many young people as they can.
So we heard a story about someone that just got in a car crash and lost his legs, and he was the same age as us.
It's vital that everyone, when they're getting their licence, actually gets some sort of understanding of what the consequences are.
For these newly minted licence holders, the realities are sinking in.
It's very surreal because you don't really realise how much impact it can have on not only yourself but other people.
It's kind of very confronting to see that kind of thing can happen to people our age.
It's really about being safe on the road and being able to speak up and say if you're feeling unsafe, and just remind the people who are driving, or if you're driving, to keep control.
A lesson well learnt ahead of their next trip on the roads. Declan Milton, 7 News.
Well, the deadline is now looming to lodge your tax return. Experts are sharing some helpful tips on how you can get a refund instead of being stung with a big bill.
Tax return time is quickly approaching. The deadline is October 31st if you do it yourself, but you get longer through an agent.
Our tax is a bit complicated, so we do that, but the trouble is we don't get round to it till the end of the financial year.
Financial advisor Matthew Sweeney says not much is changing this year, but the ATO will be cracking down on fraud and working from home claims. There's also a lot of things you can be audited for.
Generally where they've not included income that possibly they should, so they've not included interest on a bank account, sale of a property.
The ATO recommends if you earn business or investment income, you should consider voluntarily entering pay-as-you-go instalments, giving you the flexibility of spreading out your tax payments.
This enables the payments of tax to be paid quarterly.
But the best advice is to let the experts handle it for you.
For the main part, it's making sure you've got receipts for what you're claiming, and you're claiming things that actually work, that are related to your work.
You will be getting a bit more cash in your pocket. This financial year, the Labor government introduced tax cuts to provide some cost of living relief.
Australian households get an average tax cut of over $2,000, more than $40 a week. But for a lot of people, it might just be a drop in the ocean.
The cost of living's gone through the roof, so a couple of $100 here and there is not going to make much difference at all, really, for the average person.
Rex Quayle, 7 News.
Well, up next in sports, Central West Paralympians add to the Aussie medal haul. And Bulldogs lift the Blouse Cup for the third year in a row.
Tomorrow on Sunrise, Supermarket Shampoo Showdown. The best value brands put to the test.
Plus the blockbuster sequel, 36 years in the making. The stars of Beetlejuice are dropping in for brekkie. See you in the morning.
Doneydoo's Jamison Leeson will be chasing more Paralympic glory tonight. The 21-year-old claiming silver in the women's individual BC3 boccia event in Paris. She'll now link up with Daniel Michael tonight as they start their BC3 mixed doubles campaign. Bathurst's Emily Miller is celebrating the Aussies claiming bronze in the wheelchair rugby after they edged out Great Britain by 2 points. Bathurst Bulldogs have secured their third consecutive Blouse Cup premiership with a win over Orange Emus. Bathurst held off the fast-finishing home side to cover themselves in glory.
They've done it again. 3 straight premierships, 3 grand final victories over the same opponent. Emu's Harry Cummins gave Bathurst quite the scare, scoring the decider's first try. Bulldogs return serve. Captain Peter Fitzsimmons with a juggling act to hit back. Literally. Off the restart, Orange's Sam Batsloff was in trouble, given a rest for his tackle. Bathurst scored the next 3 tries before Corey Hooper found some space right on half-time. Bulldogs led 26-12 at the break, and after a meeting of the Brains Trust, Big Sione Navahu was like a freight train coming into the station. At 33-12, Corey Hooper got Emus back in it before Mitch Evers charged down a Kurt Weeks kick to make things interesting. Evers had cracked the door open for Emus at 33-22, but Bathurst slammed it shut. 3 tries in the final 15 minutes, including 1 on the siren, securing another Bulldogs premiership, 50 points to 22 over Orange Emus.
Bulldogs! It's a three-peat.
They came to enemy turf and they dominated again. A Blouse Cup three-peat to farewell 2 Bathurst Bulldogs legends. The architects of this incredible Blouse Cup dynasty, Captain Peter Fitzsimmons and coach Dean Oxley. Fitzy hanging up the boots to spend more time with family. Ox is set to patrol sidelines elsewhere.
Emus have always been the benchmark that we've been chasing. You know, they've been strong for, 10, 15 years, and Bathurst had to do something to try and correct that, and I think we've done that now with 3 in a row.
My time's over at the club, and I always said that it wasn't about me or wasn't about what I've done. It was about me leaving this jersey in a better way than I found it.
He leaves it on top. A year that celebrates 150 years of rugby in Bathurst. 2 of the best to ever don the yellow and blue lead Bulldogs to premiership glory. Snare, 7 News.
Bathurst women were also in finals action for the West Fund Ferguson Cup, but the Bulldogs couldn't complete the double, beaten by the undefeated Dubbo Roos in a massive thriller.
Much like their male counterparts, they've done it again. A West Fund Ferguson Cup three-peat was launched into action by Dubbo star Saxby Shaw, an intercept to run away with the grand final's first points.
That is a try!
Shaw was the hot hand and Dubbo kept finding her, this time on the left. The Roos jumped ahead 14 points to 0 before Bathurst crashed over for their first try. Bulldogs found some momentum and went in again. That try made it 14-12 at half-time. The Roos running game has been a strength of theirs all season, and it showed up on the biggest stage. First blood of the final term went the way of Dubbo to make it 19-12. Bathurst weren't done yet. Molly Kennedy got Bulldogs back in it. Kennedy knotted things up at 19 all. With the premiership on the line and time running out, the ball was in the hands of you-know-who. Saxby made sure of it.
She's eyeing off a third. That is a hat-trick of tries for Dubbo Saxby Shaw today.
For the third season in a row, the West Fund Ferguson Cup is headed back to Victoria Park.
Dubbo Kangaroos have gone through the West Fund Ferguson Cup undefeated.
What makes you guys so unbeatable?
I think the connection between all the girls is what puts us on top. I think it's good to have a team that supports each other on and off the field.
Dubbo dominated the 2024 season and the competition's best team claimed a three-peat. Mac Reith Snare, 7 News.
Bathurst and Dubbo also clashed in the Colts Grand Final. Bulldogs scoring in the opening minute of the decider and didn't look back. They scored the game's first 5 tries to lead 29-0 before Dubbo finally got on the board before half-time. At 29-7, Bathurst scored a further 2 tries to the Roos 1 to claim a dominant 50 points to 12 Grand Final victory.
What makes these guys so consistent and strong?
Oh, just their work ethic. They've been fantastic all year, 90% training rate all the way through. They just wanted it for each other, so it was fantastic.
Coached by Bulldogs old boy Shane Cantrell, Bathurst formed a Colts side for the first time since 2019. The Dogs went through the season undefeated to lift the Blouse Cup Colts trophy. Up next in 7 News, Kirstie's back and she has your Wednesday weather forecast.
Good evening, everyone. A high-pressure system across the state is keeping skies calm and settled with heat building throughout the week, along with warm northerly winds. But the next trough is set to arrive late into Thursday, bringing windier weather back to parts of New South Wales, as well as the chance of showers, and we'll feel a drop in temperatures heading into the weekend. Minimal showers are forecast under this approaching system, though. As we can see, most of the state not expecting any more than around 5 millimetres. For the central west tomorrow, a cool morning will likely lead to some patches of frost down to freezing in Condobolin. We could see some fog too around the southern slopes and in the far west. Clear skies and sunshine during the day as those maximums climb into the high teens and the low 20s. Warm northerly winds as well, gusty at times, a top of 21 degrees in Cowra after waking to freezing, and 21 also in Mudgee. Maximums increasing into Thursday with warm winds helping retain the heat. In fact, those winds could reach around 35 kilometres an hour with stronger gusts. Condobolin 27, Cobar up to 28 degrees. Those winds drawing warm air in from the north. Forbes a top of 26 and 23 on the way for Mudgee. Overnight lows also increasing, so we're not expecting that frost in the morning. And Friday's forecast will be similar to wrap up the working week. A clear and sunny day. Minimums in double figures for parts of the slopes and plains. Maximums well into the high 20s. Parks and Cowra tops of 25 degrees. The low 20s in Bathurst, Lithgow with 21, and Orange with a sunny 20-degree day for the end of the working week. Looking ahead, those temperatures will continue to rise into Saturday, 28 in Dubbo, before dropping back to the low 20s into early next week as Orange drops back to the mid to low teens. After tomorrow, though, we're certainly going to be climbing out of those chilly nights. A beautiful end to the week, though we will feel the windy weather return too, Nick.
We certainly will. Plenty of sunshine.
Yes, the sunshine is, I think, what we all need right now.
I like it.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks, Kirstie. And that's your local news for tonight. I'm Nick Hose. Thanks for watching. In just a moment, Dan has your latest national and international news. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and Kirstie and I will see you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.